Many will say, oh, Skarner wasn't the problem. Listen, you have to account for this champion. Get him out of here. Also seeing Yone getting
Look,
taken off the board, but this power picks of Jace and Varus also gone.
I will tell you right now that in the WE EDG game, the Skarner was the problem. Monkey popped off on that one, had some predict impales. The rest of the team were doing okay. It was Monkey on this champion. Not giving this champion over is a really good decision right here. But I'm very much agreeing as well with the Varus ban and the Yone. I think those two champions have been popping off recently. The Varus specifically, it's still so versatile at the moment. We got to see a really nice, just aggressive Varus yesterday. And actually, they're going to take away the Draven. I'm sad about that. I would have really liked to have seen the Draven right here. But instead, you've left open a ton of the priority picks. The Vi, the Rumble, the Cassante, all of these top tier blind picks for B1s are just available right now. You've really got dealer's choice right here as LGD.
Yeah, and depending on the top laner you go for, everybody's been worried, oh, if you power pick a top laner, they're just going to pick Gwen into it. Well, Rumble is a champion that would do just fine. I actually think this, kind of hurts IG a lot because I wouldn't want to see anybody on this team on a Galio, right? Because while it's excellent in a Rumble, don't put Rookie on Galio. Don't put TheShy on Galio. These guys finally, post-lane swap meta, have been able to thrive a little bit. And all right, they are going to go for the Gwen.
Interesting. Like you said, the Gwen doesn't get to just bully the Rumble out in the same way that you do most of the other top laners. It's really interesting that TheShy thinks he can just take this one right here into Sasi. I don't disagree with it, though. To be fair, if anybody's got the confidence to just be able to pick this one up, go for it. It does make sense that we are going to see the Gwen. The Vi also going to be locked in right here. It's been incredibly strong at the moment. Probably the top jungler. The counters to the Vi have just been other skirmishes, though, that we've been seeing. Things that can get in her face, get annoying as early on. Do kind of the same sort of thing. I'm trying to avoid talking about it, but we did see it yesterday.
Listen, you can't avoid talking about it. This champion has been around for the last couple of days. It will get locked in. The Neferi is going to come through for Climber. Climber has also been a player on this LGD roster that we have been like, hey, this is a pretty exciting player. I like to see him on a champion like this. Maybe we could see him take over the game.
Yeah, he's been on Vi duty a lot recently throughout the first round robin, so interesting to see him pivot right here and take the Neferi. Neferi, relatively similar in the ways that it can work. A champion even more risky, though, I think, than the Vi. Falling behind on the Vi is bad. Falling behind on the Neferi is terrible. You really don't add a lot of utility to your team if you're not able to one-tap people, if you're not able to do enough damage. A lot of survivability on this new version of Neferi that wasn't there previously, so that does make it a little bit less risky to pick up, but still a wild one. And we are just going to see a little bit of a handshake in the mid lane right here. Talia and the Ahri. Rookie's Ahri, very, very strong and pairs incredibly well with things like the Gwen and the Vi. They are missing some tankiness, though. This composition right now out of IG is going to struggle a little bit. It's in straight up 5v5 team fights.
Yeah, we'll see if we'll get some engage either selected or taken away in the second half of bans. I like that you mentioned the survivability of Neferi when Ahri was locked in, because there's been a little bit of a new Ahri build that's been coming through. It's been pumping out good damage and being very survivability slanted, we'll say, with the Rod of Ages, with the Leandries. You're just able to go in, go out, have a good time, be super safe, and really be a charm bot, which is exactly what IG needs, given the fact of the first two picks.
Yeah, exactly. And right now, it is interesting that we're seeing a lot more at the moment, supports and ADCs being left until the second rotation. We've spent a very long time at the end of last split where supports were first picks. ADCs, first picks as well. The B1 Ashe was something that was taking over the meta for a very long time. All of a sudden, they've been relegated to the bottom side, and that means there are a lot of ADCs being taken off of the board right now. 4 of them are just gone at this point. So what is left in the actual champion pools at the moment? Because all of the top priority picks pretty much no longer available. The Kalista 2 gonna leave, and so really running out. You've got things like Xayah, Jhin, the Jinx, maybe Kai'Sa, things like that. I think if you go for something like the Kai'Sa here as IG, it can work because you can dive into the backline, follow up with the rest of the team. It continues with the risky playstyle, though.
Yeah, it's a little tough because you could go into the Jhin and be like, hey, we want to index into pick, or we want to index into dive. You get to do that when you have the Ahri, when you have the Vi. Yeah. Gala going to be on his bread and butter, the champion that he is known for, looking for a couple certified LPL Kai'Sa moments here tonight.
And with this composition, you'd better make it work, because there is no recourse for this IG comp if it begins falling behind. At the same time, if you're ahead, the dive potential of this is crazy. I don't think the Rumble's going to survive very long. I think you need a champion with a lot of survivability right here. The Xayah or the Ezreal were going to be my suggestions, because you just need to keep yourself alive. Ooh, I like the idea right here of something like the Thresh to try to, again, give some extra survivability over.
Dude, give me Thresh. I love Thresh, please. It's not objectively good here. It's, like, pretty rough here. But I'd love to see it, personally, just because it's one of my favorites. You need some sort of engage to come through. I wouldn't be too surprised by an Alistar. You can't really pick Rel here, because Alistar would just get picked on the other side. So you have something for LGD. I'm just not sold on all of their engage.
Man, what do IG want to finish this one up right now? I mean, like you said, things like the Rel, Leona, all of those basic engage champions are still available. They can work fine. I do worry a little bit about them getting left behind, though. This would have a much easier job. The Rakan would actually be able to follow up with the champions on the board here and actually give you that extra level of engage rather than having to, you know, be behind the curve a little bit. I do like the lock-in right here, but this bot lane, I mean, there's no way you can fall behind right here as IG. LGD, they've got a little bit more where they can make things work later on. They can wait for the game to happen to them a bit more. IG, they're going to need to set the pace early.
Yeah, and they should have a pretty good time doing so, given the fact that Jiejie and Meiko are on champions that can really intertwine well and make good plays around the map together for these players that, you know, have played together in the past, have won worlds together in the past, and, you know, that's going to be something that LGD is going to have a tough time, you know, taking to task, right? Climber and YCX as an example, you know, haven't had that sort of synergy. We're going to need to see Climber and XQW maybe be the ones to make that happen. I just don't know if Nefiri Talia will have enough playmaking off their CC to actually out-playmake the jungle and support on the other side.
Yeah, because, I mean, right here as Climber, where are you really ganking? You can try go top lane, but it's always risky to gank onto a Gwen. It's pretty hard as well because you don't really have much setup between these champions. A couple slows, but just really relying on being able to do the damage, TheShy being over-pushed to make that one work. It's almost impossible to gank an Ahri once she's 6, so you'd have to go there early. And again, you're really reliant on a seismic shove, which is pretty tricky to land in just a normal straight-up lane. It's easy enough in a team fight when there's a lot of things happening and you're not necessarily looking at the floor, but in a lane, it's very easy to just be able to dodge away from this one, especially if there's a flash available. So then are you looking towards the bot side? Again, possible. I don't know, though. It doesn't feel like there's any particular lane that you can really play around here as Climber.
Yeah, going to be tough, Bloxer, as we head on to Summoner's Rift for the first game of the second half, the round-robin stage for Group D.
This an incredibly important matchup for both of these teams. IG, they're looking to re-cement themselves as one of the best teams in the league right now. 3-0 was a great start to them to round 1. They're going to be looking to go 6-0 though. For LGD, they want to get into those top 2. They don't want to have to play through that last chance to get themselves out of Group Nirvana. They want to secure that for themselves right now, and this would be a great game to be able to do it in.
You could hear the gyos just a couple moments ago, heavily in the favor of IG. You know, no surprise. You know, incredibly popular team. You know, 5 players that have been mainstays for the longest time, right? Multiple Worlds appearances between all 5 of these players. Gala considered one of the best to ever do it on AD carry on his signature pick. So, LGD, you mentioned, Climber is going to have a hard time trying to really play for these lanes. So where's the salt from LGD going to come from? Because I feel like if you're waiting for IG to dive on you and use your Talia rocks to speed bump them, that's not enough.
No, and later on into the game, if you're beginning to fall behind, that might be the only recourse they have. Early on, I think it's a little bit more about trying to set yourself the pace. I've been talking a lot about how IG need to accelerate the game, and I think they very much do. LGD, they don't necessarily have to get overly aggressive early on. You do need to be careful that you don't necessarily win out onto these early skirmishes. There's a lot of heavy skirmishing champions on IG that are going to make that stage pretty easy. Going to be watching Climber very closely to see where he actually decides to go. You can potentially try to force some ganks through. At least getting a flash off of a couple of these champions might be possible. But yeah, I really am not sure where you can actually find these early ganks to get yourself an advantage. Something that the Nefiri very much needs.
I think a lot of it is going to have to be not trading objectives. You're going to have to figure out where IG is going and then meet them there. let them go in first, let them miss position, and then collapse on them from there. You know, when you have such a lack of CC early, right? YCX, the roams are going to be really important, and then you mentioned the seismic subs out of XQW. You know, you manage to pick one player on IG, then you can move it and do your own objective from there. It's good.
Exactly, that's the way that they're going to be looking to play, but I feel like both of these teams can potentially look for those early picks before turning the rest of the fight on. Interesting right here. Shaoye just going to grab a little bit of extra vision, make sure that the team knows where Climber is at. Very important for avoiding getting killed by this Neferi. Now, on the other side, Jiejie, where does he decide to go? Because early on, the Vi can gank very effectively, and I think that he's got a much easier time actually trying to go for the ganks either in the mid lane or the bot. But at the same time, I think in this matchup versus the Neferi, you're actually okay to just power farm your way to 6 and then use that for the team fights, and use that for the ganks. You don't necessarily need to be overly proactive. You're not on as much of a timer as you would usually be versus other jungle champions.
We do see that the junglers are on opposite sides of the map right now, so perhaps an opportunity for LGD and Climber to make a play happen. Sasi just trying to shove this way in now. This wave in. We're going to see a dive attempt onto TheShy here. Sasi almost in the danger zone, so he's going to be getting a lot of damage down. TheShy is getting burnt to a crisp. And the ignite, and Sasi get first blood.
Very nicely played right there. As much as we were questioning what you can do in terms of ganks, there's not a lot of CC. There's still a ton of damage between these two, and they execute on that dive incredibly well. You can see TheShy just had no recourse in that situation, especially as a flashless Gwen. You can understand why he's gone towards the Ghost, but it really makes trying to outplay this situation incredibly hard. And you can see it right here. There's very little that they actually do specifically. They just hit all of the abilities, and you're able to take him out in one tap. TheShy really isn't going to be able to get away. Well played there.
Congratulations, you did it. You hit your buttons, but really well played dive
there
there.
were a lot of missed buttons yesterday, alright? I'm feeling good about this.
Now, one thing that we didn't talk about in a consequence of that play is this Rumble has Ignite, does not have Teleport. So not sure how that's going to affect LGD's game states later on when, you know, they've struggled in the mid game and this Rumble's going to be a key part of it. He's going to have to always be around the team.
Exactly, with the double TP available for IG, it's going to make things a heck of a lot harder for LGD to actually play around it. At the same time, the point of the Ignite is exactly this. You've got that initial kill, you're now going to be able to bully even harder onto TheShy, try to shut down this Gwen. Remember that this was a blind pick Rumble, so actually clearly happy to be able to take it into this matchup, but it means that you've got to pay it back tenfold, and it is trickier without the teleport. Still though, great start for him. They're not going to be worried about it.
Top laners are still hanging out up there. We see that Gala taking it back here. We'll see where IG wants to set the lane assignments. We see LGD pinging in this mid lane. They have the dragon warded as well. Given the fact that Gala's headed to the bot lane, maybe it'll be a grubs angle for LGD.
Potentially could be, and anytime you can get 6 grubs onto a Gwen, that's a great start to a game. Jiejie potentially looking for a gank right here. I'm not sure that he's going to be able to get involved in this one, and Climber is in the area. The counter gank potential is very strong for a Neferi.
Oh no. Sasi, you're going to be in so much trouble, man. 3 people are about to show up. He flashes early. He realizes his goose could potentially be cooked. The heal for the speed up there. There's the equalizer trying to burn these members down, but not enough damage this early in the game. Flash is burnt, but Jiejie gets the kill.
Yeah, there was nothing he could really do there. That was about as well played out of Sasi that could really happen. Still not going to be able to do anything in that situation, and it is going to be the grub started up right here for LGD. Being able to grab 2, not sure they're going to be able to grab the 3rd though.
XQW doing what he can to keep them all at bay. Meanwhile, Rookie was able to shove them off, and IG will secure the 3rd grub. LGD do get the first 2.
And it's at least something right here for LGD, and it stops you from having as many grubs right here onto TheShy, and stops anybody from being able to pick up a step towards the feet right here. Next objective will, of course, be this Drake. Going to be an Infernal, so a very tantalizing option for both of these teams. I think specifically for LGD, they are so reliant on being able to do mass damage early on, that being able to get that little bit extra at this point in the game would be incredibly useful for them. Of course, you can see the roaming around right now. Alistair moving about the map, so that could well be where they're heading towards, but there are pings right here from IG.
Yeah, everybody on IG headed down there, save for TheShy. Rookie taking his back here. Teleport not quite up yet, but shouldn't be too big of an issue, as it'll just be time to clear out wards. And Sasa, you know, is going to be stuck in the top side, right? He's got this Ignite off cooldown, but not really any plays to make with it. I'm not sure if he's going to win a straight-up 1v1 at this point.
It would be very close. I think if you could dodge out onto a little bit of the needlework, there is potentially an option for the 1v1, but it is very much going to be tricky. You are right about that one. You don't necessarily need to be getting a ton of solo kills right now. Just keeping up the pressure, making sure TheShy can't move out of this lane. Obviously, when the teleport is down, it's not so much of a worry that you're going to end up with the Gwen leaving your lane, but before that, he's still something. Hang on, Climber.
Alright, YCX is showing up in the mid lane to try to keep them all off XQW, but he gets tagged by the Vi. Good stun. Rookie is able to wade through all of it and get through, but Jiejie dies on the backside. Now, here comes Climber, trying to bear down onto Rookie, but the charm lands. Climber's going to have to get out of there, taken below half.
Oh, that play was a little bit of a mess right there. I was incredibly surprised to see XQW actually end up dying. I thought he was just going to be fine once the Vi ulti ended up taking Jiejie under the tower. In the end, though, more than enough damage between them and a 1-for-1 in the end. I don't think you're going to be too worried about that as XQW. Sure, you do lose your life. Actually, he didn't get an auto or anything right there onto Jiejie, who actually ends up picking up that kill.
Real quick, it was Rookie who got that kill on YCX, getting Jiejie, but look at this topside fight during that. I mean, TheShy just won the 1v1. You lost this entire wave for Sasa as well. Like, this is looking pretty doomed for LGD right now.
Yeah, this is exactly the sort of thing that you didn't want to have happen. Why you end up ganking onto TheShy early on is exactly to avoid this. Yeah, like you said, it does end up being YCX that ends up picking up that kill. Not ideal. Was hopeful that maybe actually somebody else had managed to get an auto attack onto him. Not in the end. And that 1-for-1, not so impactful. Like you said, topside, massively impactful. The wave count, how much XP they've been getting, has gone straight back to even after that early dive. That has really stopped TheShy from being able to play this one out. Like I said, you've got to dodge out onto the needlework, otherwise you're just going to get one-tapped by this champion. It doesn't matter how strong you are as the Rumble in the 1v1. And actually, right now, he's getting ganked by Meiko.
Yeah, going to repay a visit up there. Will be spotted out, so he'll be able to survive. But I think for LGD, in an effort to, you know, leverage a strong early game to get into a mid game that you can have some control, you over-indexed a little bit too hard, right? You've got these strong, you know, early game skirmishing champions, and, you know, a champion like Talia that can use a Weaver's Wall to cut off a fight. But in doing so, you've really just been over-aggressive.
Have been in a lot of these situations, and this is a real worry right here for LGDB. Because what we've been talking about is how much they've been struggling in their mid-game teamfights and skirmishes, not what they've been doing wrong in the early game of games themselves. That's been a strong point for them right here. So to fall behind already to IG, about 600 gold behind, haven't been able to pick themselves up any real advantages through these objectives either. That is quite a big worry. They're going to move on to the grubs right now, at least going to be able to secure the first one of these. Teleport though,
Yeah, they did ping out that this teleport could be happening, but IG looking to bear down Shaoye in a 1v1 with Gala. The exhaust goes down, but it's not a 1v1 anymore. Rookie has shown up. He'll have to flash the charm. And now Jiejie bearing down on YCX. TheShy showing up as well. Ultimate going to be used, trying to keep that will unbreakable, but it's not going to help. He will fall all the same, and IG win another fight.
Yeah, IG just so strong right there. Pull the trigger, get the flank off. And Gala gets exhausted at the start of that one, and it just doesn't matter. This should be a dive right here onto TheShy, and I do not know what you can do. He's almost getting 1v1 before it starts.
This is cyberbullying, man, please. But that's what happens when you take Ignite in the top lane.
Yeah.
Many League players not too happy when they see an opposing top laner do that. It's a global taunt.
Yeah. Unfortunately, right there, everybody gonna jump up into that top lane. This is a stat and a half. I feel like the 9 total bans should be much stronger. Yeah, I think more people should probably be banning this champion out. It's the same as the Skarner, right? Occasionally people let it through and you regret it almost immediately. As we have a look back at this play, and it's all about Rookie right here, being able to just so close to get the charm, isn't quite able to do so. And I'm sure we're gonna, I'm sure we're gonna speed through this one to watch the dive in a second, but actually, is a little bit of a Drake play going on in that picture-in-picture. And yeah, it is just going to be another objective picked up right here by LGD. They've not been falling behind in terms of the objectives so far, but just the tempo of the game. It feels like they're not able to actually go toe-to-toe with IG right now.
It's incredibly difficult. The pick has been very strong for IG. Top lane's been strong, and Sasa just getting bullied once again. He had been such a nice spot for LGD, but in a game like this, when you don't have TP and you got to be aggressive,
and again,
it's impossible.
It really is. It feels like there's nothing that can be done, and we talked about it, right? This is a blind pick, first pick Rumble, B1 Rumble. Oh, teleport.
Oh, we're just going for it.
Bot lane. All right, fine. They need to make something happen.
This could be their one way back into the game. Meiko not going to quite land the knockup, and XQW and friends trying to get a lot of damage. Climber chasing after him, will close out of the kill. And now, can you shut down TheShy is the question in a 3v1. But he's got the turret to help him out. He's knocked up, but he's got the ultimate doing so much damage. Last auto attack from the turret will be enough. And Gala going forward, looking for another Kaisa in the LPL moment. XQW gets pulled off the wave and will burn away. A triple kill for Gala.
And it's a disaster off of an aggressive LGD play right there. They needed to make something happen. Like you said, last chance to actually get something going for them. And unfortunately, IG, they respond in kind. Meiko starts that play off so well by just buying enough time that everybody from LGD is pulled up way too far, spending far too much time around. TheShy nearly turns that into a 1v3 on the backside as well. And then after he falls, Gala arrives to just clean house, exactly what you didn't want to have happen. It's just watch Meiko right here. Does really well to flash away from the seismic shaft, buys time, just gets tagged by the last needlework, but it's good enough at this point to have baited people in. And TheShy, the way he's able to keep himself alive, but it's Gala incoming. You can see right here, at least manages to land on that Prey Seeker, and from there, he can just walk people down.
How happy is TheShy right now? In split 1, if you're 3v1 as a top laner, you're dying and not doing any damage, and there's no play to be had on the backside because you're a tank
CS
and you can't do anything. Yes, you've got 3 CS at 14 minutes, but now it's different. IG look different because of this meta change, and they look so much stronger than we could have expected. As Jiejie is coming in, can we land the charge? Oh, the predict! That is nasty! Is the shield enough to at least make it a 1-for-1? Rookie gonna flash forward. Oh, that was a little ugly, a little too overzealous for IG.
Don't worry about it. Think about the predict. Don't think about the way that play ended.
It was cool.
It was really cool until it wasn't very suddenly.
Yeah, it's the equivalent of saying, hey, watch this before you make a play with your Flex Q friends.
Yeah. I mean, it's fine. In the end, Jiejie is still going to be able to pick up this tower. This should be the first tower of the game falling right here over to IG. Going to be able to move themselves even closer here towards the feats. Actually, that should be the feats picked up for them right now. Very impressive early game so far out of IG. They've been able to get themselves a 3k gold lead, 15 and a bit minutes into this one. We're going to have a Herald spawning in about 15 seconds time, and I think IG, they're going to find it very easy to just step up to this one. So far, in multi-man skirmishes that we've seen, it's just been IG coming out on top every single time. Watch the predict, and then close your eyes if you're an IG fan.
Yeah, like this is great, and then it's like, okay, this is cool
and then
too.
Look away.
Yeah, once that shield pops, I think they were not aware that that was ready to go for the Talia. And now we have a couple summoners down on the side of IG. We'll see if they're still able to make a play. Jiejie is going to try to find a way back in. They're going to go and pick YCX here. XQW has left his cow to dry, although he's throwing rocks over the wall. Shaoye trying to get into the fight as well. Now it's a split on the side. Gala on one side, TheShy on the other. Rookie in the middle of everybody getting put in the bounce house, and he can't dash away. Gala on the backside. There will be no Kaisa moment here, but he ends up finding a way to trade a double kill for him.
Is actually not going to be the end of the world right here for IG. They will end up losing out onto the Herald, and we'd just talked about how IG were coming out on top of these plays, but this one is a complete mess from IG. They get engaged upon, then over-aggress themselves, and end up sandwiched between many different people in that situation. Gala does well to be able to pick up a kill on the backside of that fight, but once again just gets immediately exhausted at the beginning of this fight, and it really is one on two fronts. You can see how Gala ends up in a fight up against Shaoye and just isn't able to actually sit and hit onto any of these main carries on the top side. You see there's 4 members around the top for IG, and Gala's just kind of by himself, exhausted, not really able to do anything. Does well to pick up a kill here, though.
Yeah, Rookie not having his best fight there. He dashed in because he's like, all right, fantastic. My Ahri ult's back up. Ended up in the middle of 5. Only got to use 1 charge of the Spirit Rush. When you're playing Ahri, if you're using 1 charge, the fight better be over, and you better have won the fight.
Yeah, really unfortunate right there. But still, IG, they haven't lost their lead from that one. It's a little bit closer than it was previously, still almost 3k the advantage. But it is something for LGD. They've proven now to me that they can at least nearly win. I'd say that was just about a win for LGD in that mid-game skirmish, something they've been very, very bad at throughout the rest of the split so far. Now posturing right here, potentially going to try to go in for a play. Not really anything to be fighting over at the moment. There's still 5 minutes until the next Drake. Atakan going to be the next available objective, but hopefully LGD have learned from last time and are not going to start this one up randomly.
I love the ferocious defense of their own jungle because Climber, you know, after the early game, we didn't talk about him a whole lot. He's 2-1-3. He's on 2 items on this incredibly powerful Naafiri. You know, it's not totally doomed for LGD quite yet. You do have this star in your back pocket, something to hang your hat on here, maybe take over the game.
Absolutely, but it is very much going to be on Climber to be able to find those engages, be able to pick somebody off. I mean, how much has he played this champion?
Are you really surprised?
117 is insane.
Oh,
Not really. He's alright. For once, he's alright. 2 and 4. Really, really rough scoreline.
That ain't right, bro.
Look, he's been ganked a lot. He's been dove a lot. And when you blind pick a top laner, you'd better do well with it.
I thought Jiejie was maybe going to get in there. His flash is up, his ultimate is up. But probably thinking better after that earlier dive went a bit awry. So things have slowed it down a little bit, but if you're IG, you're probably okay with that, right? TheShy is, you know, still very, very strong. The siege is at least on, and wherever you want LGD to be, you can force them there.
Absolutely, they're going to be forced around the map to respond at the moment, and you're right to bring up TheShy. Any of the lanes that he's in is a massive threat right now. The only reason we haven't seen him pick up another solo kill recently is because Climber's been doing okay and has constantly been hovering towards whatever lane TheShy is in to make sure that you're not going to end up in another situation where TheShy picks up a quick kill, and then, well, they've got 3 grubs in their back pockets. This Gwen's going to melt through towers in front of her. And that is going to be something that's going to make playing this one out a lot trickier for LGD. It's not just straight up 5v5s they have to worry about. There's constant pressure on these side lanes as well. Actually, once again, they are hunting for TheShy. They're not going to be able to find him. It's going to be okay, at least, for him at this point. But still, that's a lot of members hanging around in the same area. I think Atakan's going to be started up soon.
Yep, it's already been ripped on. It's already
melting.
Almost dead because you have Kai'Sa. It has been secured for IG. Keep in mind, this is the part of the game where LGD usually sees it slip away. They've struggled so hard in the mid-game. And mispositioning there. Climber's got to flash away. He's shielded just a bit, but a big knock-up from Meiko with Gala on the back line means he's able to free fire. He's got 2. They lose 1 on the other side.
Oh, very low health bars right here, though, for the remaining members of IG.
Nice charm. And YCX taking out to about half with TheShy. He's like, hey, I want a piece of this fight. He's been exhausted, but he does so much damage still. Shaoye almost dead from that.
Yeah, through the exhaust, doing all of that damage. Absolutely crazy right here. And despite the fact, again, it's a little bit messy, a couple people having to flash over the wall to be able to survive, IG, they still come out on top. They're able to get a couple more kills, and the Atakan was the main prize that they came here for. Have a look back at this fight, because it starts so quickly with just the instant charm. And despite the fact that nowadays Naafiri, we were speaking about it, has a little bit more survivability, still just going to get taken down. Jiejie on the backside of this fight, I wasn't quite able to see what had happened to him in the first instance. Just gets melted through, unfortunately. Not the best positioning out of him. But it doesn't really matter in this situation. It takes long enough for people to take out Jiejie that the rest of the fight is able to be won on the backside. And despite the fact there's very low health bars, there's no re-engage out of LGD available.
Yeah, he walked so Gala could run in that fight. We see the Rift Herald getting dropped top. You know, it's not great when you're using this Rift Herald and really have no aim for it whatsoever.
Yeah.
We do see they're trying to play in to IG's top side. No, at least making a play there, forcing them to respond to this Herald. While on the bottom side, Rookie is just proxying a wave.
Yeah, Rookie more than happy to step up right here. You've seen almost everybody right here from LGD around. You're also very safe on the RE2. can just pressure right here. It's going to be interesting to see how much more LGD are going to look for to push for, because they've got so many members up in this top side, but they're now losing a tier 2. They're going to end up losing out onto poor XQW. They get a second tower top side. They're maybe going to get another charge out of the Herald. This is not quite worth it for them.
Oh, TheShy is dead.
Hang on,
okay,
this is not
wait
worth.
a minute.
Hang on.
LGD being proactive in the mid game. What is this? They've exposed an inhibitor. Climber is going to be able to drive the Herald out of there for at least a little bit. Meiko will claim the kill on it, but okay. LGD showing us something a little different.
Indeed, but still, they are losing things for it on the other side of the map rapidly, and I love this out of Meiko right here, and Rookie just try to stop as many of these bases as possible. They're at least going to stop Climber. Gala's able to pick up a mid lane tier 2. You lost the mid lane tier 2 in the bottom lane. You lost a Drake as well. And so you are paying quite a lot right here for this play as LGD. It's very close to being worthwhile, though. XQW tried to wall off and just gets jumped. I don't think he was aware of quite how many people were in the area. You know, it's a... Oh, hang on.
Oh, no. Sasa, it feels like every time we see him, he's going down. Can't quite find Gala, but Gala does get knocked up. He is surviving for now, but YCX and the Alistar damage a little too hefty.
Yeah, Gala going to be taken out on the backside of that fight as well, so that's at least something back for LGD. They're doing a pretty good job at the moment of actually trading every play 1-for-1. About 15 minutes ago, I said the words, about a 3k gold lead right here for IG. Well, if you take a look, they haven't really been able to actually expand that any further. They've been doing a very good job right here as LGD of just keeping it close, but Sasi has not been having a good time right now. He's just getting taken out once again. But it is a pretty good equalizer at the very end of that fight. I mean, yeah, YCX gets the kill, but it's very much the damage out of this Rumble that is still incredibly potent here at 2 items that's able to pick that one up.
I think YCX has generally been pretty good, but that was a fundamental miscue there. You know, against the Vi and the Kaisa, they're going to be able to go on top of your Rumble if they want. You have to play with him rather than try to run around there, so... You know, unfortunately, leaving his top out to dry. Maybe he just wanted to claim the shutdown for himself. Those support items do make a pretty good impact. He definitely got a nice paycheck there from taking out Gala. As Baron up in just a couple of seconds. LGD with a little bit of mid-control here. You can see XQW positioning maybe for a waltz.
Potentially going to look to push forwards right here onto IG. Oof. This is risky right here, but they have to keep the pace up in this game. If they start letting IG run the game here, they're just going to start losing this one incredibly quickly. Right now, though, all of the posturing, Baron available, but Shaoye has been able to push this one through in the bottom lane. They're going to have to send somebody down to deal with him at some point pretty soon.
Yeah, you've lost mid-track, too. Yeah. So they're going to have to find their way in, and IG now have complete advantage and complete control.
Good play right there out of Meiko to stop the base out of XQW.
TheShy?
And now TheShy just, going to be able to push forwards onto this tower. This is a massive mistake right here out of LGD. This is what's been hurting them. The decision-making around the mid-game. And in this one, they try to posture about the Baron, but they don't pull the trigger. They don't go in at any point. And they don't have a teleport, as you pointed out right at the very beginning of this game. Sasi, no teleport means that it's so much harder to rotate down and actually stop TheShy from just being able to push this one through. He doesn't get the inhibitor at least, so that's something. But still, Baron actually going to be started up by IG.
Kids, this is why you take teleport on pretty much everybody. Rookie chunking out Sasa, taking him to half. Here comes the Weaver's Wall. XQW at least getting in there, stopping the Baron. IG are forced off. Rookie's got to use his ultimate, but the push is still on for TheShy, and it's going to be Sasa who has to back for it, so he's not going to be available for this fight if LGD won it.
No, and you've only sent back Sasa right here. That's not going to stop this inhibitor from falling, and TheShy on 2 pushes is able to just pick up so much. And for IG, this is incredibly repeatable. They can just keep doing this again and again and again. Threaten onto the Baron, allow TheShy to push. Threaten the Baron, allow TheShy to push. And until LGD makes a decision to either send multiple people bot lane to kill TheShy, potentially lose Baron, or send everybody to try to get a straight up 5v4 team fight going on around Baron, and maybe lose out the game to TheShy's push, it's just going to keep happening. It's either a slow bleed out, or they're going to have to be proactive about it.
This is the LGD that we have seen so far in 2025 with the rough mid-game macro. They made it difficult on themselves by not taking the second teleport. You know, at least they can hang their hat on that play they made with Rift Herald that, it looked like it was not a great situation, but they forced it to be pretty good. Yeah, you lost 2 inners and an outer, but you did something with it, and they're trying to do something here. TheShy eats a full equalizer, but it doesn't even do that much. Now Vi ready to go in along with Rookie. YCX going to find the knockup. The carries are safe. They blow up Jiejie. Here we go. It's a 5v4. Stun out onto Meiko. TheShy wants to go in. He will manage to survive. Rookie going to land a big charm on XQW, but the flash away means Meiko can't get in either. So LGD hanging tough. XQW off alone on the side is going to get shielded up, but Gala on the gold from XQW, but the rest of the fight not exactly going the way that they want. TheShy got in there, did damage, but died. Now it's time for Gala to have another Kaisa moment here. He gets exhausted. He's got a flash. He's split off from the team. He's in the Guardian Angel. The guys can't save him. Meiko wants to save his buddy. He gives him a shield as much as he can. Gala fighting his way through and finds 2 with the help of his support. And now it's only Rookie and Climber left standing. And Climber's got to run like hell. The dogs are being hunted.
Look, bot lane though, as this is happening, Climber gonna have to retreat under the tower, try to get back to base. If he's not able to do so quickly, gonna end up losing out onto one of these Nexus towers. Oh, I think he's just about gonna be able to get back in time to at least stop this from being a complete disaster. That was such a messy team fight. Multiple pop-off moments out of everybody involved. Just Rookie and Climber able to survive. And I mean, the end prize is that IG get themselves another Drake. What a mess.
Yeah, it's not looking so hot, and that'll be sole point for them, so I have to watch out for the next dragon as we take a look at this replay. This is a great start for LGD.
Really is. I feel like you could re-watch this team fight again and again and focus on a different person every single time because something's always happening across the board. I'm watching Rookie throughout this one though. Had to flash away from that seismic shove at the start, but as one of the only remaining surviving members, was just able to weave his way through this fight very well. Not able to do quite as much damage as you would really hope to though. I think that's part of why this team fight doesn't actually work so well for IG. Gala is playing his absolute heart out during this, whereas for the most part, Rookie doesn't actually do too much in this one.
Look, and we're no longer picture-in-picture. At the very least, the Baron down below 4,000 HP.
Just gone again.
There's no way that LGD are going to be able to get in here. IG draped in purple.
Indeed, they are potentially hankering for a fight as well. Rookie going to go in.
Everybody wants Sasa on the side of RG, and they're going to find him. IG just crushing them. And now it's a 5v4. Jiejie trying to get the way forward. So they're just being corralled.
Really are. They're actually going to be able to step away our LGD, but the damage has been done. Baron picked up, losing a member as well. And the wave clear is pretty decent for LGD, one of the only saving graces for the team at the moment, with these Baron-empowered minions pouring down through the mid lane, through the top lane very soon as well, and the super minions in the bottom lane. It's going to be a very tricky base defense to be able to pull off.
It's going to be nigh impossible, I think, but Shaoye, at least he's going to get his fill. We haven't really talked about him too much. 5-2-3, doing his thing on this Xayah pick. Really good into the IG composition. The former IG young 80 carry. In an alternate universe, maybe he's on the other side here, and bearing down on the LGD base instead. Do find a big charm coming out. YCX down below half.
Indeed, and Rookie just keeps on moving forwards with that Spirit Rush, doing as much as he can to just buy space for the team right now. They don't really need to engage a fight. More than happy to just be able to pick up these objectives and make it so that there's less and less map right here for LGD to be able to play around. I gotta say though, as much as this has been a very impressive game from IG, LGD haven't just let it happen to them. They've been proactive. Win or lose, pretty nice. Hang on, Meiko goes in.
Yeah, XQW finds himself in a lot of trouble. The equalizer did some damage. Climber gets taken all the way to the back line. He ends up trading out TheShy, looking to just rip the rest of the back line. The inhibitor getting focused here. Jiejie and Rookie just doing dynamic duo things. The inhibitor has fallen. The minions still pouring in through the bottom side. They're going to shift it down for this inhibitor. Oh, wait, Rookie with a big flash. He gets exhausted. He gets knocked up, and he goes down. LGD, as you said, not letting it happen.
No, they are still fighting into this one. That was a play that they decided to engage upon themselves. Climber desperately trying to make it work. Gala now going to get jumped right here. Manages to dodge away from the seismic shove.
Oh, man, the combos are just too strong. Gala lives. He's dumping damage. Jiejie leading the way. YCX will fall. The teleport comes in from TheShy, and they are going scorched earth on the LGD base.
Gala with the fancy feet right there. Shaoye trying so hard to be able to pick up the
Shaoye!
kill. Actually gets the stun, but the golden available to TheShy. Reset's
Climber?
coming through. Climber actually here. He's going to be able to pick up that kill. That's a decently big shutdown, and despite the fact that this is a mess of a fight, the Nexus towers, they do remain. LGD, they're able to pull off the base defense, kind of.
They are still in this game. They're not in it as in, hey, we are in it to win it, but they are in this game of League of Legends, still connected to the server right now, although it's not going to get any easier. A minute 20 seconds until Ocean Soul for IG, and with this LGD comp, yeah, Ocean Soul is going to be something that is nigh insurmountable. And I do want to talk about, this game. We really harped on IG needing to be clean and repeat what they were able to do in day one. And although the scoreline looks a little ugly, I think that it's LGD that have been at least making the most of some of these fights. But I think IG has actually played pretty well overall, save for a couple of messy dives.
Yeah, IG have played a very impressive early game. I'd say mid-game, couple interestingly played team fights, but it's just the map-based macro that's been so good for IG. Every single time they've been able to pick themselves up an objective, it's been pretty much uncontested. They haven't really actually been fighting around objectives in terms of, oh, is it a 50-50? No, there's been no 50-50 smites. Jiejie has been able to pick these ones up very easily. And it is just one of the best bits of IG right now. Not only are they amazing in terms of hands checks, but also they can just outplay the map on you so well.
Now, how much of that is being on easy mode, going only up against one teleport? That is the question.
Yes.
That we will still need to see them answer, later on in the season.
Absolutely. Especially because Sasi's been one of the best players for LGD, has really been popping off in their win up against LNG. Destroyed, but even in the losses that they took to IG and JDG, they've still been one of the top players for the team, and so it's been really sad to see him just get completely shut down throughout this one. Ocean Soul is going to be picked up here for IG. You said how strong it was going to be, and this feels like it's going to be the last base defense, last stand right here for LGD. What can they do?
Rookie just needs to fish for a charm. Jiejie just needs to find an angle and you'll be just fine. Everybody is in the base for IG. It's a party and LGD is going to pay for it. Double super waves bearing in from every direction. Bloxer.
So tricky.
The moment is, all right, we're going to see YCX go in. Jiejie going to get to the back line. Rookie coming through. Sasi going to be the first target. He's going to go down. Gala will see XQW go golden and realize it is a golden opportunity for him to free hit. First Nexus turret has fallen. Wait a minute, we have 2 kills for Shaoye. The Nexus is exposed. The question is, can you drive off IG? Can you drive off Gala and Meiko?
Gala.
I don't know if you can drive him off. The exhaust is out. Wait a minute. Shaoye puts him into stasis, but no. Meiko shuts him down. Climber has to kill Gala and Meiko. That might be an impossibility. And it is. IG will slam the door shut on LGD.
It's a mess. It's a mess of a final team fight like all team fights were this game. But in the end, IG still going to be able to come out on top. Gala, fancy feet throughout the entire game. Honestly, he had such an impressive performance right here on this signature Kai'Sa.
Yeah, are you surprised? Is anybody surprised, right?
No.
Like I said, certified Kai'Sa moments. We had a few of them. If it wasn't for the exhaust, we would have had many, many more of them. Dude would have had maybe like 6 pentakills this game or something. Right? Maybe not that many, but overall a nice performance.
I believe it.
A classic, a classic performance out of some of the IG players. And, LGD, the first time we see them have a really rough early game, but again, the mid game, it wasn't as bad as prior ones we had seen. Again, we were really looking for them just a couple of minutes, a couple of minutes into the mid game, maybe stabilize, maybe make some sort of advantage. And while they weren't able to because they were down, they were at least able to keep it even for a while, which I think is an encouraging sign and some progress.
Yeah, they weren't making the losses worse. They kept IG at about a 3k gold lead for a very long time, and the team fights that they were taking were pretty good. It was the rest of the map play that was really tricky. We highlighted it a lot. The lack of teleport out of Sasa makes it so hard for him actually to be able to play the map for the entirety of LGD to be able to. There's a couple plays that come to mind where they're trying to find some plays topside and they're losing out on tower after tower in the bot side. The multiple times where IG were threatening around the Baron and TheShy is just able to pick himself up towers and Inhibitor's bot lane, and then the second that bot lane inhibitor was down and the super minions were pouring in, it was becoming tricky for LGD to really be able to step up and try to find those proactive plays. It's still problems for this team, but these are different problems, and at least the team fighting did look better.
Yeah, and TheShy was just able to, as you said, pop off. He had the scissors, he pulled them out, he was stabbing the life out of LGD in a lot of these fights, and that split push was pretty incredible. Now, I do wonder how different this game looks if we see the Rumble have the teleport, right? Maybe we're not getting that top dive, and, I really respect what LGD did there, recognizing, hey, we have this extra early power, even though this isn't a perfect 2v1 dive for the champions that we have. It's very doable. They did get it done. It was clean, but after that, it was just so hard that I hesitate to think if it was actually worth it.
Yeah, getting that one good playoff and then for the rest of the game getting kind of bullied around by TheShy. I mean, hey, a lot of top laners fall to him. It's no embarrassment there, but the play into TheShy usually for a lot of teams is, hey, enjoy your worst tank matchup and just join us in the team fights. Be useful later on. Deciding to take a Rumble with Ignite means you're trying to carry your team. You're trying to pay it back. That's something we've talked about him really needing to do. Fortunately, it wasn't quite the case, whereas TheShy, hey, whoops, my bad, got dove immediately, doesn't matter, was able to turn that one around and was incredibly impactful for his team. The entirety of IG ended up playing that one out pretty well. The only person who I would have liked a little bit more from was Rookie in a couple of these team fights, but then in other team fights was popping off and landing a ton of key charms, so it's not like there was any dead weight on this IG roster at all, and it's great to see them actually be back.
Yeah, it's still not as sharp as we'd like, specifically out of Rookie, as you said. We're hoping that in the JDG game later, we're really seeing Rookie have consistent performances, making smart plays, not trying to push the envelope, because that's what it felt like here. It felt like IG definitely took some decisions to limit test a little bit, and while that's all well and good, we still need to see with our eyes that, like, hey, man, get a clean start to finish game first, and then you can start limit testing. So we'll see if they'll have that clean start to finish game like they did against JDG on the first day of this group.
Yeah, they need something just a little bit cleaner overall, but at the same time, a win is a win. Have a look at the gold graph. Yeah, you see there's a really long period of time, right? From about, 12 minutes into the game till about 30, where, yeah, the gold increases a little bit, but it really sits very even, and then all of a sudden, once those couple Baron plays go down, once the over push in the top side leads to them losing a couple of towers, that's when all of a sudden IG get massively back into this game. You can see it here, Rookie still does more than enough damage for the team, is still incredibly impactful overall. We're just expecting something extra. I mean, when your name's Rookie, right, we're expecting perfection, and when it isn't that, it's a little bit obvious. At the same time, though, it's still a really good game right here out of IG. For LGD, I'm not upset about this one. I'm really not. It's unfortunate